Hi, my name's Jemma, aka Aussie Bookworm. Today is my first video for Literary Gladiators since their restructure, and I thought I would do a bit of a review slash discussion. So the book I want to talk about is The Hospital by the River by Dr. Catherine Hamlin, and it was co-wrote, I guess, by John Little. So I was lent this book by a friend, and she's an elderly lady, and I've been meaning to get to it for literally like a year, if not longer. And then over the Christmas break, I took it home and I read it. She had talked about how amazing the book was, and the story itself is a biography of Catherine and her husband, Reg. So they're Australian doctors who spent a significant portion of their life in Ethiopia. So they did amazing things in Ethiopia. Firstly they started treating regularly and training doctors and nurses in caring for patients with fistulas, which is when a woman gives birth not in hospital and her body's under strain, so the birth is obstructed. So instead of going to a doctor and getting the baby pulled out, usually she'll be like that for 4 or 5 days until the baby dies, and then it shrinks in and she's able to pass it, but it leaves irreparable damage to her bowel and vagina, and she then pretty much just leaks, and her bladder as well, she leaks fluids from both ends, and it's awful. And the women in Ethiopia are treated like lepers and shunned from their families and villages, and it's devastating because this is a completely treatable condition and preventable as well. You know, if these women had access to hospitals, and because Ethiopia, I didn't realize Ethiopia was such a mountainous country, they're not able to access the hospitals. So I read this and I was amazed at just how much they'd done. They were also trying to spread awareness for, so in Ethiopia it's common to have child brides, and they were saying a lot of the time the obstructed births were happening because the young girls giving birth weren't fully developed. So on one hand, I was amazed at this incredible work they'd done, but then on the other hand, the story, the book, I felt was very poorly written. I would have believed if maybe it was just Dr. Catherine Hamlin by herself. However, she had, a ghostwriter, and it's a Pan Macmillan published book. The narrative, I guess, bounced all over the place, and at one point she was talking about like treating these fistula patients, and the next she was talking about like rubbing elbows with the acrostasy, and her relationship with the emperor of Ethiopia. And I understand that she was trying to convey like the history in Ethiopia and like the rich versus the poor and how wide a divide there was. However, honestly, it come off as her bragging a lot of the time, and I mean, maybe she has the right to, like, she's done so much for the women in Ethiopia, maybe she has that right to brag, but it just really rubbed me the wrong way. She was also a very religious lady, which is fine, like each to their own. However, I found this book incredibly preachy and filled with religious propaganda, if you will. In one breath she was talking about the child brides and how awful that is, and I was like, yes, completely agree. And then in the next breath she's talking about how she was in England and she didn't want to bring her son up in England because there were girls walking around in mini skirts and they didn't have Christian values, and it was just such a double standard. And while she's talking about a great way to stop the fistulas is to stop child brides, not once did she mention contraception. And I don't know, maybe that's just an overlook, but I couldn't overlook it. And this book was published in 2001. So at first when I'd read it, I thought, oh, maybe this is like a really old book, you know, and those that kind of propaganda and I would say judgmental overtone kind of got past. But it's 2001, and then this one was reprinted in 2008, I think it was 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. And I guess so then the discussion is I guess like that free speech versus maybe censoring people who have a really great message to share, but are unfortunately going to turn people off because they are, I guess in my opinion, and this, maybe people watch this video who have strong Christian beliefs and say, no, what she's saying and what she's doing is amazing and that book was outstanding. And I guess that's the discussion. Do we censor books, or do we, when we have people who aren't authors, you know, does the publishing house say, you know what, actually, we can't include these things because they're a bit judgmental and homophobic? Or do we say, no, freedom of speech, everyone has the right, and obviously it's my right to either read or not read this book and to like it or not like it. So yeah, I guess I'm wondering what your thoughts on this are. I'm glad I read it. Like I said, I do not want to take away from the work that they've done because it's incredible, and the lasting impact still in Ethiopia and all over the world, especially other African countries, because they trained a lot of people. I guess I'm just looking for a discussion about, whether we encourage writers to not include super strong, judgmental, religious, homophobic tones in books. Let me know what you think, and if you've read another book that's similar, or again, it wasn't just that, it was also the fact that I felt it was really poorly written, and that John Little and the publisher should have helped with that, because it just chopped and changed and it was very hard to follow. If you've read a book like that as well. Alright, that's me out. I hope you have a wonderful day or night or whatever time it is in the world. Bye.